How many people are debt-free? The answer is pretty shocking. Most of us already know that debt generally isn't a great thing. It drains your budget, increases stress, and makes it harder to invest. It raises the amount of income you need just to get by each month, and it can push retirement further into the future. And yet, debt has become a normal part of modern life. Mortgages, car loans, student loans, and credit cards are built right into the financial system. For millions of households, loan payments are simply another monthly bill alongside groceries and utilities. In this video, we'll take a look at some of the numbers, and keep watching because we'll also take a look at how one monthly payment can dramatically affect your retirement. So the real question is this: how many people are completely debt-free? According to data from the Federal Reserve, the number is smaller than most would guess. Only about 23% of Americans have zero debt at all. That means no mortgage, no car loan, no student loans, and no credit card balances. The remaining 77% of people are making payments on something, and many households carry several debts at the same time. As you can see, debt isn't something that affects only a small portion of the population. It's simply part of everyday financial life for the majority. But not all debt works the same way. Some types are relatively manageable, while others can create real financial pressure. And when you start looking at the numbers, the results are far more surprising than most people expect. Buying a home more often than not means taking out a mortgage, and that loan often becomes the largest financial commitment they'll ever have. But here's an interesting number. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, about 40% of homeowners don't have a mortgage at all. That means roughly 4 out of 10 homeowners own their homes completely free and clear, with no monthly payment to the bank. The other 60% still have a mortgage, but even within that group, the situation varies. Many loans were taken out during periods where interest rates were extremely low. In fact, about half of mortgages currently have rates below 5%. That doesn't make a mortgage small or insignificant. It's still a large payment that often shapes financial choices for decades. But compared with other types of borrowing, mortgages are at least tied to something that can grow in value. Another major category of debt is auto loans. Owning a car isn't optional for a lot of us. It's how people get to work, run errands, take kids to school, and handle everyday responsibilities. In many areas, especially outside large cities, public transportation simply isn't available. According to research from Go Banking Rates, about 40% of Americans currently have a car payment, and those payments have gotten much larger in recent years. Rising vehicle prices and longer loan terms have pushed monthly payments much higher than they used to be. According to Edmunds, the average payment for a new car reached $772 per month in late 2025, while used cars average around $570. Those numbers add up quickly. A $772 payment every month is more than $9,000 per year. For a household with 2 finance vehicles, that can mean over $1,500 per month going towards car payments alone, before even considering insurance, maintenance, registration, or fuel. That doesn't automatically mean financing a vehicle is a bad choice, but it does show how easily debt can become part of the monthly budget. Part of the reason these payments have grown is that the definition of a normal car has changed. Years ago, basic transportation meant an engine, 4 wheels, air conditioning, and maybe a radio. Today, many vehicles come with large touchscreens, multiple cameras, massaging seats, premium sound systems, and other tech that used to be considered luxury features. Individually, each upgrade may seem small, but together they push vehicle prices higher and higher. Another factor is how people think about the purchase itself. Instead of focusing on the total price and how much it will depreciate, many buyers focus primarily on the monthly payment. As long as the payment fits the budget, the overall cost can feel less important. Longer loan terms make this easier by spreading the payments out over 5, 6, or even 7 years. Rather than questioning how this will affect the overall picture, the only thing that matters is the monthly bill. Now, some types of borrowing can actually help build wealth. Mortgages are one example. Even though the loan balance can be large, the money is tied to a home that may increase in value. This can make sense when the total cost of owning is comparable to renting. Then, as the loan is paid down, homeowners build equity instead of paying rent indefinitely. Student loans can sometimes fall into this category as well. If a degree leads to a higher paying career, the increase in lifetime income may end up far exceeding the total cost of the loan. Business loans work in a similar way. These types of borrowing are sometimes referred to as good debt because they're connected to something that can grow in value or generate income. Another situation involves very low interest financing. Some people could easily pay cash for a purchase, but choose to finance it if the interest rate is very low. For example, if you can finance a car at 1.9% and keep the money invested, that could be a worthy trade-off. In that case, the loan isn't being used because the person can't afford the item. Instead, it allows them to keep their cash invested or available for other opportunities. This approach typically only makes sense when these conditions are true. The person actually has the money to buy the item outright, they would be willing to pay cash, and the interest rate on the loan is very low. Credit card balance grows, or a personal loan appears after an unexpected expense. Individually, each payment might seem reasonable. A few $100s here, another payment there, but over time, those obligations begin stacking on top of each other. What once felt manageable can turn into a long list of payments that must be made every single month. And the more fixed payments someone has, the less flexibility they have if something unexpected happens. Very low. But this is where the real problem comes into play. Even when debt begins as manageable, it can become more challenging over time. Most people don't suddenly wake up with overwhelming debt all at once. Instead, it usually builds gradually. A student loan payment might come first, then a car loan is added, then a mortgage. Maybe a credit card balance. If income drops or expenses rise, there are fewer places to adjust. Mortgage payments still need to be made. Car loans still need to be paid. Credit cards still have minimum balances due. That's why debt can sometimes feel manageable for years and then suddenly become stressful when circumstances change. In fact, surveys suggest that about 15% of Americans expect to miss a payment in the near future. That's roughly 1 out of every 7 people. Missing a payment can lead to late fees, higher interest costs, and damage to credit scores. Once that cycle begins, recovering financially can become much harder. One interesting question that comes up when looking at all of this is savings rates. In the United States, the personal savings rate has been below 5% recently, and it raises an obvious question. How much of that has to do with debt? Each debt that gets stacked on another means saving becomes much harder. Someone who could be able to set aside $500 or $1,000 per month can easily find themselves with nothing left over if they overcommit to debt. This difference could be made by one purchase, such as financing a car beyond their budget, spending too much on a home, financing a vacation, and the list just goes on. Being debt-free changes your financial picture in ways that aren't always obvious. Sometimes, the math is downright shocking. Without monthly loan payments, more of your income stays in your pocket, ready to be saved, invested, or used to build long-term financial security. Even getting rid of just one payment can make a huge difference. For example, a $600 reduction in monthly debt frees up $7,200 per year. Not only could that money be invested, it also means you need $7,200 less per year to reach financial independence, or about $180,000 less saved using the 4% withdrawal rate. When you step back and look at the numbers, a clear picture begins to emerge. Debt is extremely common in modern life, but the numbers also show something interesting. A large share of homeowners have already paid off their homes, and while only about 23% of Americans are completely debt-free, that still represents millions of people. Some households juggle several loans at once, others carry only one, and a smaller group manages to avoid borrowing altogether. Debt may be common, but not everyone experiences it in the same way. So where do you stand? Are you part of the 77% or the 23%?